Hello, welcome to the Snap UK, the podcast for the discerning listener on this side of the pond.
It's we're renaming it.
I wish.
Gary and John Football Podcast.
Yeah, it's so it's just me and Gary this week because everyone else
is watching the World Cup.
Yeah.
Not doing any work when they should be doing work, so now they can't come out and play at night time.
Yeah, effectively, that is how it is. Apologies. A little bit on the hoof this week because, as well, we were also watching the World Cup on Sunday. But we want to, continue putting out content for our hundreds of listeners. Although this may end that.
I can see it going. There will be a void of stats tonight, I believe.
There will be a void of
stats.
stats.
And a lot of opinion based on very little.
I mean, which is fine, because
I don't listen anyway.
Yeah, I find the stats, you can prove anything with stats, can't you? But, oops, sorry. I forgot to press mute. Where are we
going to start? So we're gonna have a very brief run through the games tonight because we didn't see a lot because England were playing at the same time as Red Zone. We had two TVs, but it was quite hard going. So
yeah, if you're trying to watch both, then effectively I was watching none because you can't concentrate on them both. So we'll start week 13. Teams on the bye were the Panthers and the Cardinals. So I was quite hopeful this week that we wouldn't need to talk about the Panthers, because we've talked about them a lot this year because they're a shit house of a club.
Yeah.
But it looks like Baker Mayfield has gone, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So he looks like he's been waived, but we'll start
Dolphins Niners. Because that's at the top of the NFL.com web app that I'm on.
There you go. Gives us
so that will make my life much easier.
That's fine, because as well, I wrote a running order and then left it at home. So, but yeah, so Dolphins, 49ers. 49ers quite comfortable winners in the end, 33-17. But it's come at the cost of Jimmy Garoppolo, who's broke his foot and was replaced by Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy.
Hey, I did some research on that, and I actually sent some research to the group, didn't I?
You did. And
first Mr. Irrelevant to ever throw a touchdown in the NFL.
I mean, he looked decent.
Well,
really?
What was Brady, a 6th round pick?
Yeah.
So this guy's a 7th.
He's there.
He had all kinds of records in college still. On a lower level college, obviously.
But he was there for 4 years. It's not like he's Zach Wilson, who's come in after playing 12 games. He's played for 4 years as a starter. He looked nervous, but it would only be natural that he is. And he has a incredible set of weapons.
Yeah. And they trusted him as well. They asked him to throw the ball 37 times. So 25 from 37, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Now, coming into a game cold like that,
yeah,
I don't think that's bad at all. Obviously, the Niners' defense is just superb as well. And against the offense, an offense like Miami, like Jalen Waddle, it was almost like he wasn't on the pitch. And considering our secondary's always been a bit of a problem, that was really impressive to see. And there's obviously questions about what we do at quarterback. There's not a lot we can do.
No.
Because we can only obviously pick up from practice squads and free agencies. So where do you go from there, I suppose, is the big question. Miami, a tough road game, I would say.
They have. It looks like they're signing Eric Fisher today, which will help because Armstead is injured. He got hit. Tua got hit a lot last week.
10 times was it?
10 times this week. I mean, if you're gonna have a game without your top tackle, you probably don't want it to be the Niners. That front that front set of players.
Bosa looks amazing at the moment, doesn't he?
He's now sack leader.
Yeah.
And not that all pro means anything, but I mean, if he doesn't get it this year, he never will.
Do you think Jim will be blaming me because I bought my daughter a Jimmy Garoppolo shirt this year?
Possibly.
Yeah. Sorry, Jim.
Look, as long as you're not buying a Bosa shirt.
I only bought it because it was cheap because everyone thought he was leaving. So she's only 4, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, obviously, Jimmy G wasn't supposed to start this season. Lance, he got knee knack, ended up going out. Jimmy G hadn't been given the playbook up until he basically signed his contract. He'd been told to find place elsewhere. I think it's unfortunate for him because I said it last week. I felt the Niners were on a deep playoff run.
Yeah.
Whether this will affect, is Purdy coming in? Like, is he just going to Mike White it for a couple of weeks and then?
It's so difficult to know. You've seen it so many times over the years, haven't you? Alex Smith got injured, Kaepernick came in. I've said that word because no one's here to tell me off.
Yeah.
And he obviously did very well. Nick Foles came in behind Carson Wentz. For you, John. Carson Wentz.
Thank you.
So there's been lots of Minshew came in. Yeah, the Jags after Bortles, the mighty Bortles, was injured. So there's lots of occasions where we see young quarterbacks come in and actually, with nothing to lose, they sometimes play really well and they don't feel that same pressure. I think, in the playoffs, Jimmy G would feel a lot of pressure because of what's happened in the past. This guy, you just don't know, might be terrible, but he might be great. So, it'll be interesting to see what we do. We know that a certain Mr. Baker is available because he has been dropped at his request from the Panthers, but I don't know if that's the right thing culturally to do. It makes sense to bring him in and have a look at him, but whether we actually want him, I don't know. I'd bring him in and then if we don't want him, just ship him. So,
I don't.
We must need a backup quarterback.
Well, you are going to need a backup because
we can't have one.
No. Well, you had Nick Mullins. I think at the start of the year, he got $2 million and told to go away. I'm trying to think who on
Must have someone on the practice squad, but.
Well, I don't. Do you know what? I don't think you do because
go and get Ben DiNucci or something.
I mean, just why? I mean, at the moment
there'll be a quarterback somewhere on the practice squad. Josh Rosen, where's he?
God,
apart from in Griff's smug bank.
I think Josh Rosen wasn't he at the Browns?
I don't think he's anywhere now, is he? He's terrible.
I mean, he is awful. The practice squad, you have Jacob Eason.
Brilliant.
So, you probably could do with having a look at Baker.
Shame the Steelers couldn't drop Mitch Trubisky.
Do you know what?
Because he's basically a poor man's Jimmy G, so that would work. So
if the same with the Saints won't release Jameis Winston.
No, that is not a shame.
just let him free, Saints.
Right, shall we move on?
But for the Dolphins, they really need to protect Tua. Technically, he didn't end the game. He was subbed out, so his record of every game he started and finished this year still stands, that he's not lost. But, I mean, that's only on a technicality. It would worry me when it gets to the playoffs that, if Eric Fisher if Armstead isn't back and Eric Fisher isn't up to speed, that, you're just going to end up absolutely being able to hit to and this sort of win now, Dolphins are putting it off to next year. But let's move quickly on then to the team in charge basically of the NFC. We'll go on to the Eagles, who go to 11-1. They didn't really have much of a game here. They quite handily beat the Titans 35-10.
They did what you have to do to beat the Titans, which is stop Derrick Henry. So they basically just stuffed up the run game. And we can, if you make Tannehill the focus, they didn't really let him have much of the ball either. It was just really poor.
Well, the thing for Tannehill is he lost Burks very quickly, didn't he? He caught a touchdown, and whilst catching a touchdown, which was really impressive because he was murdered. I mean, if it was Brandon Cooks, he would have literally been killed. He held onto the ball, but he was not able to return. And if you don't have Treylon Burks, the Titans have nothing.
No, Derrick Henry, 11 attempts for 30 yards. Tannehill got 34 yards. So
wow.
So yeah, the way they're set up is based on a run game that works, and then solid defense. And the defense got tired because it spent too much time on the field. The run game didn't take anywhere near enough time out of the clock, and then Tannehill, with what he's got now, with no AJ Brown, it's nigh on impossible for him to turn that around.
Yeah.
No, but credit to the Eagles. I've been one of the ones that have said, I'm not sure against a big team, because they do. The NFC East is much better this year, but they've all improved from a poor base, and it's always difficult to know how much of it's just schedule versus, and I know they beat the Vikings earlier this year as well, so I think everybody must be starting to move into that camp of really seeing the Eagles as Griff would like to say, a contender.
I think they really are there. What we're going to be able to tell the next few weeks is because they play the Cowboys. Christmas Eve, 9:30 for us UK fans. I think that will be looking down their stretch. That is the only test they have because they play the Giants twice, the Bears, and the Saints, and those three teams in those 4 games, none of them can score any points. So, what I'm really impressed with at the moment is still the offensive line at the Eagles. They are bundling defenses. That's a good defense for the Titans, and they gave them no hope. It's brilliant, but I mean, the thing that worries me is I've got quite an Eagles heavy fantasy team, and my finals, because if I get to any finals, I'm going to struggle if they decide to rest people like Jalen Hurts and stuff like that, which is starting to worry me. I'm not going to lie. For the Titans, they have fired their general manager, John Robinson. He's been there since 2016. The fact that he traded AJ Green for some beans this year, surely...
AJ Brown, yeah.
I mean, for him, it was a revenge game, and he's exacted that revenge. He was unstoppable.
Well, AJ Brown is just so good and so much better than Robert Woods.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Robert Woods got 9 yards this week. Nothing.
No, Michael's not here, so I just like to bring it up. Just when he listens, because I know he'll listen.
Yeah, he will listen. So let's move on to the Chargers, not the Chargers, the Bengals and the Chiefs. One of the games you imagine is quite possible in the playoffs coming up, and a repeat of the last few times they've played, 27-24.
It's almost identical, isn't it?
It's almost identical. The only difference this time is the Chiefs came back, whereas before in the playoffs last year, the Chiefs took the lead and Bengals came back. The Chiefs came back, but it wasn't enough. They missed. Harrison Butker missed his kick at the end to take the game into overtime. For both these teams,
the Bengals just appear to be doing a lot of what they did last year.
Yeah.
And I think that's the really unusual for a team. They came out of nowhere last year, lost, rebuilt a little bit at the start of the season, regrouped, you could say. And a lot of us kind of thought, well, was it a flash in the pan?
Yeah.
Because Chase was dynamic earlier this season, but not quite as dynamic. Obviously, he was back this week, 7 receptions, 97 yards. Took a bit away from T. Higgins, but T. Higgins still got the touchdown because he is, a better red zone threat than Chase.
I mean, I don't know when T. Higgins' contract's coming up, but he could be a number one anywhere else. Effectively, he is a very impressive wide receiver. Once again, he was good the year before, when they had Burrow injured. He was very good last year. Sort of got overshadowed by Chase. But he's just continuing to be brilliant.
And then Sammy GP Ryan as well.
Yeah, they're not really missing
106
Mixon.
yards. Must be searching for a contract again.
Yes, I mean that takes them to 8-4 in their division. And
two really closely matched teams, aren't they? Simple as that. They managed to keep Kelsey quite quiet. That was probably the difference in this game, because we know that is Mahomes' main weapon these days, and they managed to keep him relatively quiet with only 56 yards. It's probably the worst game Kelsey's had for fantasy all year.
He had a big fumble as well, didn't he? Right at the end, like the sort of fumble where they just keep going to looking at a very sad Travis Kelce on the sideline.
Yeah. This game could mean a lot later in the season in the playoffs. People will remember. Could be a revenge game, but if you're the Bengals, you're going into a matchup with the Bills or the Chiefs in pretty confident fashion, I would say.
Yeah, I was worrying for the Bengals at one point, but they are absolutely coming in red hot, and that's what counts.
Two very good teams in a close game.
Yeah.
The two quarterbacks that really look after the ball. That you can really tell that they don't do anything silly, and that really shows. They're going to be in every game they play. Yeah, no, really.
For the Bengals, Joe Burrow has never lost against the Chiefs. So
he's played them 3 times,
4 times, But it's still I can't think of many players who have a 4-0 record against the Chiefs. And yeah, it's funny how those sort of hoodoos start. We'll stay in the AFC North because the Ravens.
I hope we're going to be quite quick on this.
This is a very quick game. Because the only thing really to say is Lamar Jackson got injured
again.
He's out for 1 to 3 weeks, PCL injury. They're so far ahead in the playoff race because the AFC is bonkers. So they've got two game. It wouldn't surprise me if you don't need to rush Lamar back.
Do you know what? The Ravens and Lamar are just terribly frustrating.
Yeah.
So, at the start of our fantasy season, I nearly dropped him in our Dynasty League, and people were looking at me like I was crazy. But he hasn't been that good. He started off the season, 3 or 4 games, looking really good.
Yep.
And, I just don't think he's been that great. He hasn't looked after the ball that well. You look at, Jalen Hurts, he looks like a different level compared to Lamar Jackson at this moment. I'm not saying, it throughout their entire careers. But right now, if someone offered you Hurts or Jackson, you take Hurts in a heartbeat.
Oh, God, yeah, definitely. We might get onto it next week because we probably should start looking at the MVP race because it's quite open this year because rather than there being...
I think Hurts is getting further and further ahead, if I'm honest.
On my running order, went after the Eagles game, I did say, is Hurts going to be not running away, but leading the MVP race?
If you ask me right now, then I'd say yes. I said Mahomes, I think, a few weeks ago, but right now, I just can't look past him.
Nah.
They've got the best record, and Josh Allen would be the other one. But again, he's had a couple of poor games as well. So...
No,
he's not doing a lot wrong. The Ravens, basically, if Jackson's not there, they have almost nothing.
Yeah, but they still have more than the Broncos. Well, the Broncos' defense kept the Ravens to 10 points.
They scored that late.
Scored that basically in right the end of the fourth quarter, and they still lost.
Yeah,
but
they're just a poor.
I don't want to say. I don't want to keep going on about the...
You don't want to jump on my Russell Wilson's done train, do you? No one does.
I don't want to, but it's getting harder to ignore it. I need him to get to week 2 next year, and he has to have thrown some touchdowns. They are they didn't even get to the red zone this game. They were appalling.
So much in sport is to do with momentum and confidence, and I do not remember that many quarterbacks that went from being great to terrible to great again.
Yeah.
Now, I know I don't live in the past.
No,
So
you
might have a better memory than me.
You live in the now, and but I was on the way here because I thought it's going to come up. I was trying to think of players.
When was the last time you saw a player that got awful and then got great?
The only person I could think of was I was like Rodgers got a bit meh, but he just got average. He didn't get each week is a new nadir for Russell Wilson and the Broncos. Each week gets worse, and you sort of think he's reached rock bottom, and then you watch it next week and you think no, he really hasn't. I don't know what to do. What the issue is with Russell Wilson, other than
he's not losing the ball loads, but 189 yards. That's it.
I mean, that's a rubbish game for Danny Dimes. Who
this guy used to run around for Seattle and make all sorts of plays, and now unless the perfect play is on, he just does nothing. Griff talks all the time fairly about quarterbacks elevating the players around them, and he does nothing to do with that.
No, I mean, I really hoped for a good year from Jerry Jeudy because I believe there's a player there, and he was getting more from Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, and it's appalling for the Ravens. Tyler Huntley came in. 187 yards from less game, and it was just this. I think we already spoke too much about this one.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, let's move on. So we'll stay at the AFC, but we'll quickly mention Browns Texans. So it was the return of Watson. There were some boos apparently, but also he was signing shirts for.
Of course, he was
for Browns and Texans fans. I
got asked the question before, didn't I? When will he forget about it? When will it get forgotten about? As soon as he walks on the field.
Yeah. Literally, first few snaps, apparently there were some boos. It should be pointed out, there was very few fans in the stadium.
I mean, he didn't do very much either, did he?
No, he was
12 of 22, 131 yards and a pick.
Yeah.
He threw a pick almost straight away.
It was he looked, I think the best you can say is he looked rusty. This is what the end of this season is going to be about for him, is getting ready for next season. He needs to get some mileage in his arms and legs. And he can also rely on, a good defense who made a hapless Texans look very shoddy. There was defensive touchdowns. There was a return. I mean, if I'd have paid to go and watch that game, I'd have wanted my money back.
Jim would have loved it. It was a defensive masterclass.
Yeah, from one side of the pitch.
I do find the Browns are a bit like that, though, because their defense should be like this every week.
Yeah.
And they're a bit of a flat track bully.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I agree.
This Browns defense, if you put them up against a pretty mediocre offensive line, they will rip them apart. You give them a little bit to push back against, though. They don't really like the fight, I don't think. They should do more than they do.
Yeah, I agree.
The rest of them, they seem to come with Garrett when it's easy, but when it's a bit tougher, they just disappear a little bit. I think the Browns' defense should have kept them in more games than they've been in this year.
I've got to agree. I think they've been quite disappointing, really, and I think for the whole team, they just can't wait for the end of the season.
The Texans and the Browns.
Texans and the Browns. Yeah, I mean, let's see who's in charge of the Texans next year. And
awful.
Yeah,
really, really awful.
But yeah, so Chiefs lost, but in the AFC West, it was Raiders versus Chargers, and Raiders quite comfortable winners. They have hit a bit of form. Who'd have thought that, finding a decent runner and remembering they have possibly the best wide receiver in the game, they just basically run roughshod over the Chargers, 27-20. I know we keep mentioning it. The Chargers' record isn't bad, but I still think.
Oh, I think it is now.
I think it is now.
We talked about it 2 or 3 weeks ago. I didn't think it was terrible at that point. What were they, 5-4?
Yeah.
And like the Niners were at the same place at the time. Now the Niners are 8-4, and now the Chargers are 6-6.
Yep.
So actually, I think 3 weeks later, the record is poor because they haven't kicked on, and Allen's come back as well.
Yeah.
It's like
a huge fourth down touchdown.
Yeah,
for him.
Keenan Allen's played well since he's come back, and I know they've still had injuries on the defensive side this year, which do hamper them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when you look at the pieces they have, they've still got amazing players, and I do think that they are a team that should be doing better. The Raiders are only 1 game back on the Chargers now.
Yeah,
that's just crazy. Like, what are the Chargers doing? Like,
we ruled the Raiders out of playoff contention about 3 weeks ago, and they have been getting better and better.
They're probably still too far back.
Yeah, I think they are still too far back.
They must have to play the Chiefs again and the Chargers again.
Do you know what? I'll bring up their schedule.
Because they were playing at home to the Chargers, obviously a divisional game, wasn't it? So, teams do struggle to travel to Vegas sometimes, I do think that people don't like travelling there.
Yeah.
Well, they do. Maybe they like it too much.
Yeah, possibly. Possibly it's a bit distracting.
But I wouldn't be surprised if their schedule's a bit tricky.
They have the Rams this coming week, who are bad. Then the Patriots, Steelers. So they could get 3 wins.
Wow.
There. Then it's 49ers, and they finish off with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So they could get
maybe 3 more wins.
They could get to 8 and 9, which realistically isn't going to be good enough.
Probably not in the AFC.
Not in the AFC. But the AFC is completely bonkers this year, so you never know. I'm still...
wonder what Josh Jacobs will do at the end of the season. Because they've given him the power now.
They really have. He is free to chase free agency. Yeah. I don't blame him. His stock has written.
I don't get it. He's looked amazing the last couple of weeks. This week, 26 attempts, 144 yards, a touchdown, 5.5 average per rush. Like, anyone would take him.
Yeah.
I get the risk of spending a lot of money on running backs, but when you could still pick up his 5th-year option, I don't really understand what the risk was.
No,
that's very strange.
Yeah, I think it's just mismanaged from top to bottom.
If you want to keep him now, it's going to cost you more.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
And don't the Raiders have no money?
Well, that's it. They have given a lot to.
They might have some cap space, but they've actually physically got no cash.
Money. Yeah. But at the top of the AFC is the Bills. So they've gone from 5th to 1st this weekend. They had a pretty standard game against the Patriots, 24-10. It was very easy for the Bills. The Patriots, we praised Mac Jones last week for looking competent and the sort of player that you sort of could have looked like it could be this year based on last year. This week, he looked absolutely clueless. And I know the Pats fans on Reddit were blaming Patricia. I know Mac Jones was blaming Patricia, going, while he was seen, calling out the coordinators on the side. Why aren't we passing? The run game sucks.
Yeah, and that is the issue, isn't it? Like, they were just a bit one-dimensional in this game, and Mac Jones didn't do much wrong. 195 yards and a touchdown, no pick.
Yeah.
22 from 36. That's fine. And if you asked him to pass it just a little bit more, probably would have been fine. But they never managed to establish the run. Stevenson only got 54 yards.
Yeah. It's not enough.
It's not enough. That's not with how the Patriots want to play the game.
Yeah. So if with no Damian Harris, I think Stevenson works in a sort of a 1-2 punch. Yeah. I think if it's all on him, it's just... Yeah, unfortunately, you don't think he's good enough.
He's better catching, isn't he? A lot of the time, Stevenson.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and Marcus Jones, 2 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown for the receiver. punt receiver. So maybe they've stumbled on a
I'll tell you what as well.
Maker there.
At the start of the season, in our auction league we've done, John, I picked up James Cook, who I threw away after about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because he looked bloody awful.
He
wasn't allowed to play, basically. They've obviously done a lot of work with him in practice. And the last couple of weeks, it's made a real difference to their run game, having Singletary and Cook, because they're getting to that 120 yards between the running backs without Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And that's made such a difference to this Bills team. It's taken the pressure right off Allen.
Yeah, Allen only had to run 20 yards this week.
And Cook's starting to look really dynamic.
Yeah. I think it's sometimes having them in for spells for a game, or I think it's
Josh
the
Allen
weight.
was only the third lead rusher for the Bills.
Yeah.
That can't have happened for weeks.
No, I'm not going to look into it, but yeah, it's really great to see. Well, not really, and if you're a Pats fan, it's not great to see, but for the Bills, and let's not kid, the Bills are going to be there at the end of the season. Let's hope they've got some life left in Allen's legs. Anyway, we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll do the NFC. Hi, welcome back. So, on to the more NFC surrounds this half, and we'll start with the Vikings, who took a commanding lead against the Jets and then just stopped playing offensively for a while, and came out with a 27-22 win over the New York Jets. And I think my real question is, the Vikings are 10-2. Are they playing like a team sort of worthy of that record? Because sometimes I see them and I think, like, you see them and they look brilliant, and Kirk is going like full Kirk, and he's playing the ball well. He's got Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook's there, and then sometimes you look at it and he's gone full Kirk the other way, and this happened basically. Both of these happened in the same game. Like, the Jets are a good defensive team. They kept Jefferson to like 58 yards or something.
For me, that is all this is about. Not many teams are putting 30 points past the Jets at the moment.
No, I think that's...
And they didn't need to. So, they gave the ball to Dalvin Cook to run at the end, basically. He had 20 carries. Yeah.
I mean, the guy's an absolute stud, though, isn't he? He can...
Well, if you're that far ahead, it doesn't matter. But the Jets' defence is tough. You know? So they did what they needed to do early, and then, they tried to hold on. Because they'll try and score, but that Jets defense adjusts really well now. You see the points scored against them in second halves at the moment it cannot be that bad. They come back into loads of games, the Jets. They are.
I think they're a well coached unit. The adjustment that they make is quite impressive.
It looks closer than it was, I think, this game.
Yeah, as well. Like, at the end, it was a interception on like the 2-yard line that iced the game, because
Mike White threw 370 yards.
Yeah,
he just threw the ball 57
times. 31 completions from 57 attempts. Their running back, obviously, Carter's out.
I'll tell you what, the running back situation there is just infuriating for me. It's a fantasy player, because who the hell is Bam Knight?
Well, yeah, because it's not even his real name. He's like, that's what's his real name. Like, his name is something.
Like, you've got James Robinson, you've got Elijah Moore. Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
like they don't seem to know who they want to use at running backs. Like, if it's not Breece Hall, we don't care who it is.
Effectively, that's how it feels.
That's really not very helpful for me when I've only got Robinson to play. Like, just use him. He was a perfectly passable running back in the NFL for the last 2 years. What is wrong with everyone?
Yeah, he's Zonovan Bam Knight. So, yeah, Bam.
Did anybody have him in fantasy?
Probably Steve's got him or something. Fine. I mean, James Robinson was a healthy scratch last week, and he got 4 rushing attempts this week. I wonder why you've traded for him effectively. I know he's cost you nothing.
Yeah.
It's a 6th round pick, and if he gets to 250 yards, it becomes a 5th round pick. So that's going to be a 6th round pick. Mike White. He
can throw it. Griff. He'll be one of Griff's boys. He can throw the ball.
He's going to sling it. He's in the Heineke stable of quarterbacks. And I do get the feeling, you wouldn't have got. You don't get that sort. You don't get 369 yards from Zach Wilson. So he is keeping them more competitive than what was. But yeah, I think for next year they need to find an answer at a quarterback, because as well, Garrett Wilson, 162 yards, 8 receptions, like absolute workhorse of a wide receiver, and he is just brilliant.
Yeah, he was highly fancied in the draft, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Everyone had an opinion on who the best wideout was. Did Jim pick Wilson? I remember
he had Watson.
Okay.
He was
Watson, Dotson.
It was Watson, Dotson, Wilson.
But yeah, he's clearly very, very talented.
Very, very talented.
So,
and as well, Corey Davis, 85 yards. I think he's sort of forgotten that. Once again, I know the Titans let go AJ Brown. They also let go Corey Davis and replace him with Julio, which must go down as one of the worst swaps, in ages. Because what the Titans would be so good this year with Corey Davis and AJ Brown. It's just mental. No wonder he got fired.
Yeah, so I think it's harsh to say the Vikings, they're winning games.
They are winning games, and that's what matters.
It all comes down to whether Kirk turns up in the playoffs. That's what it all turns up to. How far they can go, I'm not sure, but the record suggests they should be able to go. They'll have home field advantage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that might be quite crucial.
What are they going to be? The number 2 seed, probably.
At the moment, they're number 2 seed. Breathing down their neck are the Dallas Cowboys, who beat the Colts 54-19. It was 21-19 as they entered the fourth quarter. The Cowboys then put on 33 points on a hapless Colts team.
The Cowboys won't be, only the Cowboys or the Eagles can overtake the Vikings.
Yeah.
The other one will be a wild card.
Exactly.
So actually, the closest team to them is the Niners, who don't have a quarterback.
Yes. So that's a good point. I was looking on record.
Certainly to be at home.
Yeah, they are. Good point. I was. The Cowboys moving to 9-3, but of course are behind the Eagles. Cowboys hitting a rich vein of form just at the right time.
Before they sign Odell Beckham.
Well, he was at the Dallas basketball game last night, wasn't he?
I would be surprised if he doesn't sign there.
It has to be between Dallas and the Bills. The Bills are very quiet, whereas Dallas are really quite open about their interest. I mean, it does feel.
I'm not sure Diggs would like it. I might be wrong.
Probably not. But I mean, one of the questions is, do Dallas need him at the moment? Because Dak, I was critical of Dak a few weeks ago, and he has been brilliant since. Only got 170 yards in that. He got 3 touchdowns. Pollard and Zeke, they get 180 to 200 yards a game. They are brilliant. They took the game away from the Colts at the end. It was rushing touchdowns from both of them. I mean, in the receiving game, CD Lamb. You still got Gallup. Schultz is a decent tight end. Pollard and Zeke can both catch the ball.
Gallup coming back, and then Pollard and Zeke being fit, and then Dak getting back to full fitness. like that's why this team has just suddenly flown.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You know,
if we're doing
how
power
many
rankings,
times have we said like the Cowboys? You know, I think a couple of years ago I had them down to win. Not last year, the year before I had them down to win the Super Bowl. And you look at their roster a lot of the time, you're like, wow, they should be so good, and then they haven't been. And then they've got Mick McCarthy, who we all
bastard
take the piss out of all the time. But he has won a Super Bowl. I know he's not the most inspirational guy for us to listen to, but he does know how to win. You can argue it all you like, but he has.
And he's assembled this, these coordinators, and the defense is so stacked right now. Right, they are just gonna pummel teams, quite frankly. And
if you had to pick a team from the NFC right now to go to the Super Bowl, you'd pick the Cowboys, wouldn't you?
I could almost. To the point at the moment,
or the Eagles.
Eagles. It's a coin toss between them. Like
it's mad, isn't it?
if we get an Eagles Cowboys championship game, I don't know how the seedings work out. I don't know if that's possible. But that could be like one of the games of ages. Quite frankly, it is the two most exciting teams in the NFL right now. It's as close to the Chiefs-Bills game we had last year, which was fantastic. I'd love to see. I'd love to see it, but let's see how that pans out.
But that isn't paced him for the Colts.
Oh, it's
the Colts are just terrible. It's another team that is just wishing this year away. Does Matt Ryan come back next year? Does he retire? He's not that old.
He's not old
compared to modern quarterbacks.
Compared to a modern quarterback, but he looks
old.
Yeah. Like he obviously he was never a mobile quarterback, but I think the last few years at Atlanta,
3 interceptions this week.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
the start of the 33 points was a defensive touchdown. Like he just looks. He's playing like an old man, and almost to the point I want him to retire. I really loved watching Matt Ryan at his best. He was so. We're just going
to remember him, aren't we? Just fading away into a terrible player.
It's
what it feels like, doesn't it? It does. It's
got a little bit of the Eli's about it.
Yeah,
like
just go.
Yeah, don't hang around.
You've had your money. You've been well paid. So
I'm just looking at his contract because just making sure. He's only got a 2-year contract. I mean, if he signed some sort of deal, they could cut away, get rid of some of that cap money that's going to cost them.
He won't start there next year. He can't.
No, I mean, the owner wanted him moved aside, but then Jeff Saturday.
He's better than what they've probably got on the bench right now. Because at the moment they're looking at like the top 10 pick, but not awful.
No.
That's because they're playing a pretty poor division.
Because of their division. And as well, they beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, they can pull out. I mean, they were staying with the Cowboys until the fourth quarter when it all just got a bit too much for them. They aren't going to be facing a prime pick. And, yeah, who knows what's going to happen there. But... yeah, but I mean, when did Luck retire? Like 5 years ago?
At least 4, maybe 5. I think 4.
You've had Brissett, Rivers, Wentz,
Ryan.
4 years, and they still are no closer to
nowhere near
to even just getting a starter, like a decent starter, and. Until that is the case, this team is going to be in permanent transition. And right,
what are we on to next? Giants.
Well, let's stay Giants Commanders because let's stay with staying with the NFC East. Giants Commanders 2020.
What we always hate ties. We hate ties.
At the end, it looked like both teams were.
That's games that are drawn. I'd just like to clarify that.
Yeah. I mean, I hate ties. The neck. The neck.
I wonder where you were going with that, John.
No. I don't know what else you could mean. So Giants remain in the 6th seed, 7-4-1. The Commanders in the 8th seed, 7-5-1. The Washington team go on bye this week.
I was going to say the only reason why you're not perfectly level is, because obviously when you lose this week, you'll both be 7-5.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we'll both be 7-5-1 this week because we play the Eagles.
Yep.
And I know divisional matches can bring up stuff. We're not big.
You should lose that.
We might. It might. Hopefully, for us, the defense was all right this week. The offense was better, but it's still not great. Washington, are a strange team. Heineke played really badly, but still got the.
You know what? I think that result is where you both are.
Yeah.
If I'm really honest, I think you're very evenly matched.
In the original running order. It says is a tie exactly what these teams are. They are completely inseparable.
Even when you look across, you've got a better running back. They've got a better wide receiver. Your quarterbacks are probably similar level. They do it in a different way. And your defense is the strength of both teams. So a 20-20 tie or a 20-17 was probably roughly what this game was always going to be, because there is not much between these teams. And they're both improved, and they've both performed way better than anyone thought they would this season. I would say most people would have thought they'd be 6-7.
Yeah.
Or 6-8 at this point. Not
Yeah,
not the other way round.
Yeah.
I think they're both at least 2 or 3 wins better off than we thought they'd be. It's credit to coaching, I would imagine.
I think on both sides, it's they're coached well.
It's been interesting to see the Giants. The Giants have slid a bit over the last few weeks. It'll be interesting to see how much of it was that initial bounce from Dable, and whether he will be able to respond now, and whether you'll push on to secure your playoff spot, or whether you'll just, it'll just peter out into a season of improvement rather than achievement. It'll be quite interesting to see. You have got, I think, at least
we have a hard schedule ahead. So we have the Eagles, we have the Commanders return. I hope that is also a tie, because I think that'd be really funny. Yeah. Then the Vikings, Colts, Eagles. So
the only thing you've got is down to 8th. Is the Commanders. Behind that, the Packers and the Lions are both 2 games back already.
Yeah.
So they've got to do a lot at the end of the season to get... Now, the Packers could do it. I know we've written the Packers out of the playoffs, but the Packers could still get into that race.
Yeah.
But it will be close. It will be hard for all 4 teams not to go through now.
No, so, in between... So, sandwiched between the Giants and the Commanders is the Seahawks. They are 7th seed. They had a strange game against the Rams. Rams weren't as bad as I thought they would be. Like they could move the ball, and obviously it's a revenge game for Bobby Wagner, who just seemingly was everywhere. But Seahawks 27, Rams 23. Geno at the end led the drive that brought the win. Huge catch by DK Metcalf. The guy's brilliant. The guy's a monster. I love watching him, quite frankly. Tyler Lockett as well. But I mean, both of them, 128 yards for Lockett, 127 yards for Metcalf.
Noah
touchdown
as well.
Noah Fant, yeah, another touchdown.
Touchdown of the season, isn't it?
There's a decent team in Seattle now.
Yeah, I don't know, with none of us saw it, did we?
No.
And not many pundits saw it either, I don't think, if I'm honest with you.
No, Kenneth Walker got injured.
And had a row with
Geno. Obviously Geno has had problems with that in the past. I guess being as a teammate did break his jaw. But let's.
When you're the quarterback of a team that's 7-5 and having a shot at the playoffs, you can say what you want, can't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're the leader on that team. This guy's a rookie.
I think it was because a blown something protection was, and that's how I think Walker got injured.
Yeah.
but obviously the protection was blown. So fair enough. DJ Dallas also injured, so that there isn't a running game in Seattle going forward, which is a problem. Because they've finally got one going. And
again, they're probably in the playoffs. I would say they'd have to do a lot not to make it. And I think the thing is with the Rams, we know that their defense is still decent. So if they're still motivated, you'd like to think they're still going to stay in games. So I think there's a couple of teams going into the season. They're not in the playoff hunt, but they could be like disruptors, and Rams can be that. Packers and Lions can be like can disrupt others. So it's going to be sort of fun watching these teams with effectively nothing to lose. Like the final Rams final game is the Seahawks. Like if that's the case, they could knock them out. They'd love that. The Rams usually have Pete Carroll's number. Like it is. It's all going to get tight, isn't it? It looks like the Niners look like they were going to really push the NFC top seeds really hard. Lost the quarterback.
Yeah.
So how many games are they going to fall back now? It's going to get messy in the NFC as well, I think.
Really is. For the Hawks, their next game is the Panthers.
Oh, okay.
So that's a win. But then they face the 49ers, Chiefs, Jets, Rams. So it's not a particularly smooth end to the season, but that's fair enough. So whilst we're in the NFC, we should probably mention the NFC North, Packers and Bears. Aaron Rodgers continues to own the Chicago Bears. I believe the Packers are now the most winning franchise in history, overtaking the Bears after this result, because the Bears, obviously, both these teams have huge histories. And the Bears, for obviously for the Halas days and Ditka, were very good. Not the shambles they are now. I mean, effectively, this is a matchup between two really poor teams. Packers winning 28-19. It didn't look particularly hopeful for the Packers at one point. The Bears went out, took a bit of a lead. The Justin Fields running touchdown was so electric to watch. It was so fun. And after that, they struggled because they're a bad team with no receivers.
I think Rodgers just wishes he could play in Chicago every week. Just not for the Bears.
Not for the Bears. But he's only got 182 yards. But he got the...
How many other teams would they have beaten that week still?
None. Not many.
Not many. The Texans, maybe.
Texans, Broncos,
Colts, maybe. Yeah.
We're talking the dregs of the AFC.
I don't know what their schedule's like for the rest of the season, though, the Packers, because, like I say, they are the one team. The Lions, will come on to. They've got a chance, but the Packers, 2 games back, could they pick up 2 games on either the Commanders or the Giants? That's probably the question.
They have. So I think they've gone to bye this week,
which will probably be helpful for them.
So after that, they play the Rams.
Right, they
two disrupting teams. Then it's the Dolphins, Vikings, Lions. So they might not get the. They might only get the 2 wins.
They need to win at least 3 of those games.
Yeah,
I don't think 2 would be enough. Getting to 7 games definitely won't be enough, because obviously everyone in those positions is already at that place. So
well, let's see. But
that's going to be tough.
That is tough.
They could do it after a bye week. You just never know. Teams do all sorts of crazy things.
And so let's mention Watson.
We hope they don't dunk, in case you're listening, but they might.
I mean, it's not because of Duncan. I just don't like Aaron Rodgers.
It's just funny.
It's always funny to watch. And what is with his fucking Aaron Rodgers' hair this year? Seems like very much like a midlife crisis. Christian Watson. So I think it's 8 touchdowns in the last. Is it 4 games?
Ever since he started catching the ball, and Rodgers started trusting him, it's just been a different story, isn't it?
Yep. 48 yards in the air, 46 yards on the ground, and a touchdown. Touchdown as well, catching. Suddenly, he's got someone to throw to as well as Lazard. But yeah, Watson is very exciting when he gets the ball. Has he left it too late to sort of be in the offensive? Not to start trusting, but to be like an offensive rookie of the year candidate.
Too late. Yeah,
but I mean, it is a shame, but he is very, very good. So he has
the run game's been better as well, hasn't it? Well, AJ Dillon, as well. They've got to use him, and then you can free up, Aaron Jones. He can do both, can't he? Aaron Jones, he can catch and he can run. But if you just use Dillon to just churn the yards, it's just there's options there. So the fact that they are, it's just so far behind. But they are. So the Packers are at 5-8, and they are same amount of wins as the Lions, who made very short work of the Jacksonville Jaguars, 40-14. I really didn't see that. No. I saw them winning it maybe, but I saw it being more like 40-36.
Yeah.
Like, so much so that I put Trevor Lawrence into my fantasy team this week because the Lions' defense has just been terrible against quarterbacks. So, but that was really bad because not only did they get after him a lot, they then also injured him.
Yeah, he came back.
Still questionable for this week.
Still questionable for this week. But
it looked nasty.
It did look a nasty injury. I don't know who the backup is in Jacksonville, but I mean, it can't be.
It's not Minshew anymore, is it? Because he went.
Minshew went to Philadelphia. I think Jake Luton was gone. Is it Beathard?
It was CJ Beathard.
Beathard. So they missed the chance to become the Beathard boys.
He got 2 out of 3 for 6 yards.
Fair enough. Well, welcome back to the league, CJ. But this. So 8 possessions for the Detroit Lions, 4 touchdowns, 4 field goals, no punts, 40 points. I mean, it's pretty much a perfect game.
Yeah, they're rolling at the moment.
They are on such a roll. They've left it too late to really make playoffs.
I don't know. If you're saying it's too late for the Lions or the Packers, then
actually, I've just looked at their schedule. It might not be.
Then you're going to say, because otherwise you're saying that everyone from the NFC East is in, and they've got to play each other. Some of those teams.
Yes,
so not everybody. That's the thing with that. With divisional games to come, both teams can't win every week.
The only thing with the Giants is I think they've got a Colts game, which is a win, which means that they'll need to make 3 games.
Do you know what the Colts game says to me? Exactly the sort of games the Giants will lose.
It wouldn't surprise me. For the Lions, next week they play the Vikings, Jets, Panthers, Bears. That could be 3 wins. Then finishing with the Packers.
Yeah.
It could be 4 wins. That could take them into the playoffs.
If the Lions have finally got their defense starting to improve, their offensively, they've been great all season. Once they had both running backs fit, absolutely fine. Great 1-2 combo. This week, both scored touchdowns. That must be Jamal Williams' 11th or 12th touchdown this season. It's just crazy.
I think he's 13. He's 13. leading the league.
Leading the league. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just an absolute machine.
Yeah,
it's just so many options. DJ Shark, 98 yards this week.
He's finally he started the season effectively injured. He came back from an ACL. Learning a new playbook. He's coming in.
I know. I like to give the Lions a bit of crap just because, the way they portray themselves sometimes. But they're definitely improving.
They are. It bodes well for next year at the very least. It's all fair enough.
Goff, the much chastised Goss.
He got to a fucking Super Bowl.
He doesn't do much wrong. I know he's not grandstand. He's not you wouldn't pay to go and watch him. But he's another Jimmy type, Kirk Cousins type player. He doesn't do loads wrong. Looks after the ball.
Yeah, he's Kirk Cousins with worse press.
Yeah, I think anybody who's trying to get a team to move forward and make the playoffs be really trusted by the coach that upper level where you're trying to win a Super Bowl is not as trusted, and that's basically who he is. He's an Alex Smith type player.
Yep.
And someone wants to go and find a stunning quarterback to come in to replace him once the team's been built around him.
Yeah.
So that's what they need to do, isn't it? Go and find a Mahomes to replace Goff in 2 years once the rest of the team's ready.
That's it. They are. The lines look good. The receivers are, starting to really hit their. They've got Williams back this week. Yeah. He ran some routes to catch the ball, but he's very exciting if they can get him involved. Yeah, and they have the last 2 years they've drafted really well. They've used free agency.
Yeah, just defense needs to be better defense.
Just some.
That will help set them up.
Really
so they don't have to score 35 points to win a game.
Yeah. So let's go to.
We've got 2 games left on
Monday night. Let's go to Monday night. Saints Bucks. Bucks 17. Saints 16.
Rare for Brady to beat the Saints as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't normally do that, does he?
No. It's almost he sort of killed that hoodoo that sort of been over him for a while since he's been at Tampa. Luckily, the Saints are appalling. Alvin Kamara, 12 rushes, 26 yards. I mean, he needs to leave.
He's a streaky player, isn't he? Streaky player. He's good or he's terrible.
Yeah, I think he needs a change of scenery. Although one of the changes of scenery he may have is prison, I guess, if that lawsuit ever comes through.
I don't know. I look at this roster and the defense looks good, it held the Bucks to 17 points, to be fair. But the offense, I just don't look at it. Apart from Kamara should have been good, but apart from that, you just don't see anything great there, do you?
It's pretty average, isn't it?
Chris Olave's had a good first year. Not stellar, but good.
Yep.
And I'm just like Jarvis Landry, that player that we look at all the time. The good couple of years, and when he makes great catches, you just want to see him do more. And I know he's been injured, but it's just disappointing.
I mean, yeah, I
Marcus Callaway got 1 target this week as well.
I was big on Callaway when he came in
before he got dropped by the Browns.
But yeah, it's and Dalton 20 of 28, 239 yards.
Nothing's
just bring in Jameis. Let's just see. He must be just awful trading.
It does concern me that the Bucks are just going to, stumble their way into the playoffs out of a terrible division and then start lighting it up.
So they're currently in the
really
4th seed,
me.
6-6. They are stumbling their way in. Behind them is the Atlanta Falcons, who are 5-8, lost to the Steelers this week in a game of who cares less. Mariota intercepted right at the end, which iced the game. He only had 40 seconds left, no timeouts, but still. One of the questions I asked in the running order that I can remember was, is it time that we saw what Ridder can do? But I guess whilst they're only a game back in a quite awful division, they go into the bye week this week. Might help. I don't know what their games are like.
They are bad, aren't they? If they get anywhere near the playoffs, then...
I mean, to be where they are is... So their next game is the Saints.
It's worrying for the NFC, because
Ravens...
When you look, there must only... at the moment, with the Niners quarterback situation, I would only say that there is 3 teams that I would say could win the Super Bowl from the NFC.
Yeah. I agree.
And that is really poor out of 8 playoff teams.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's... I think the issue for the NFC is there's 4 teams when the Niners...
When we have a quarterback.
When you have a quarterback, who are that much better than everyone else. In the AFC, I think it's a lot of middling. It's a nuts thing, I think, because the NFC, the standouts, the ones that are in the middle look worse because like the Falcons have the same amount of wins as the Chargers.
Yeah.
Oh, just one be one back. Like it's not. It's a strange league this year. For the Steelers, they won. They won 1916. The defense looks like it's sort of approaching sort of Tomlin peak era, not era, but like it's getting better.
It looks back to normal, doesn't it?
5-7. I think it's
and Kenny Pickett's doing less wrong. He's throwing less picks, and 197 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Like in your first year, that'll do.
Yep,
that'll do. Thank you, Kenny.
76 yards from the Freemouth, who I quite like as a tight end.
Yeah, and G Harris again is having a good season. 86 yards.
He's having a good few games, hasn't he? He's been rubbish for a bit, but he's starting to pick up. Like,
but when the whole team's down, it's a bit difficult. Isn't it? The running back, can't just put the whole team on their back.
As well as there's like you look at who was like Benny Schnell, Steven Sims. These are the other guys doing the running. Like, there's no
support.
No support. It is him. It's Najee Harris or nothing. I think he could if they could get. Just like even someone like a Latavius Murray or a Mark Ingram to spell him out, just be great. It would really help them, especially until they can fix that O-line. But and that
game doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. It was mainly just. Unfortunately, I think the Falcons just aren't bad enough yet to give Ridder a go. Whilst they sort of they can give him a game with no consequence. But that will come soon because they're tough. They are terrible. So, news. The Walter Payton Man of the Year Awards nominees have been announced. I'm just looking at who's got them, so bear with me a second because I accidentally closed that down on my phone, so apologies.
So we have Zach Ertz from the Cardinals. Oh my God!
There's some of the big names. Zach Ertz from the Cardinals, Dak Prescott, from
Sam Hubbard from the Bengals.
Yeah, Bitonio from the Browns.
Jared Goff,
who is also an average quarterback and a nice bloke. Aaron Jones, Shaq Leonard,
Pat
Mahomes, Derwin James, Adam Thielen, Saquon. Solomon Thomas.
Wow, what a turnaround.
Yeah. For you guys.
Obviously, he left us for being a dick.
Yeah. Alec Armstead and Tyler Lockett. And Derrick Henry. And Charles Leno Jr., who has made some very weird comments about kissing his sister this week. Which I'm not quite sure it was quite what he meant. But yeah. It's nice to see these guys. Because we're quite quick to bring up guys who make indiscretions, and because unfortunately there's quite a few. There are quite a few dickheads in the league, and it's nice to see these guys doing stuff, and as well, like
there is a lot of them that
there is a lot of
stuff.
They have their own foundations. It's really good to see. Look into like what they're doing. Each guy has a video on the NFL website. I've watched Tyler Lockett's one and Saquon's. That go and see what they do because it's good stuff helping the community. It doesn't get as much publication as the other stuff, which is also something in the news because AB Antonio Brown got arrested.
Eventually,
it's all for it's basically like spousal abuse, isn't it? Domestic violence. I mean, he's no longer part of the league.
No,
but
so we don't need to spend any time on it, really.
So yeah,
we don't need to give him any more airtime. The guy's a massive bell end,
and I think that's it.
It's just disappointing because he threw away all his talent.
Yeah,
he's one of the most talented players we've seen watching NFL. over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And he just threw it all away.
Ever since he got hit by Vontae's Burfict.
Him and Le'Veon Bell just had a competition. Like, mate, I'll bet you I could fuck this up the most. No, I bet I could fuck this up the most. You both fucking won. You both won.
Yeah. So yeah, I think he remains wanted by the Tampa Bay police. He's still on the run. He's currently promoting his own music whilst on the run, but he's on the run. So yeah, hopefully, let's make that the last time we ever mention him, because he's a waste. So sweetest play of the week. I've got Jim and Griff's suggestions.
I think we're all agreed,
and I think we all agree. DPJ, his return touchdown was going to be our suggestion too. So, Dre Greenlaw was suggested by Jim as well. But yeah, we're going to go with DPJ because it was a nice touchdown as well. Didn't have to rely on that dickhead for the Browns to score, which was always a pleasure.
And then also for most people this week, it is the last week of the regular fantasy season. So good luck to those of you out there that are still hoping for a victory. In our regular NFL league, every single team is still able to make the playoffs. I believe myself, John and Steve have all secured
qualified,
our spots. But everybody else is only at most one game back, so the entire league can still qualify for the playoffs. I think in our dynasty league, it's set. I think it's more set. Yeah,
it's so there. In my work league, we've got 2 weeks left.
Right.
So I'm 2 games back, but I'm 8-5, and I lost the first 5 games of the season, and I've won the next 8. So I am the hot hand, but whether I'm far enough back, I don't know. There are a few teams on bye this week, which is annoying for fantasy. So Colts and Saints, no one has anyone with sense has none of their players anyway, so it's fine. Falcons, so Cordell Patterson. Bears, Justin Fields. Commanders, Brian Robinson, Johan Dotson, Scary Terry, and Packers, Watson, Jones, Dillon, the last few weeks. These players might make a difference, so if it is your last week, plan around that. But yeah, whether you are already in the playoffs or you're fighting to get in, or you're just playing for a laugh, like I am in Dynasty, then good luck, and let us know how you're getting on. Any games that you're looking forward to this week whilst we're here? Dolphins Chargers could be quite fun because it would be nice to see the Dolphins come back. It'd be nice if they can protect Tua. That could be quite a fun game.
When you first put Eric Fisher's been signed, I immediately thought of Jack Fisher.
I'd love to see him
playing on the offensive line.
Yeah. Jets Bills as well.
Jets Bills would be a good game. Again, it could, if the Jets win that, it could really throw the division back open. But Bills are at home. I think they'll win that. We're starting to get into quite a few divisional games now as we come towards the end of the season. So
Vikings Lions could be.
There's quite a few teams on bye. There's I don't think there's any great games actually this week. Eagles Giants maybe. I
think that could be quite one-sided. Bucks 49ers. It'd be nice to see Tom smashed.
That would have been a good game if we had a quarterback. I'd have said that was the game of the week, if I'm honest. Whilst actually, we should have also mentioned the primetime games lately have been appalling. Yeah.
And this week we have Raiders-Rams on Thursday night.
Wow. And
then we have Patriots-Cardinals on Monday night. The Sunday night game is Dolphins-Chargers, which could be all right.
I hope the Cardinals beat the Patriots because Griff will just not be able to cope with that.
I mean, if it does, prepare for a very sweary episode next week. But yeah, let's leave it there because
there's only
two of us. But yeah, we'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.